All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Spurs versus everybody. San Antonio Spurs fans, stand up. Got to
Yeah,
show off the Spurs love.
there we go.
Yes,
There we go.
That's a nice
yes.
Still,
shirt. I like that shirt.
there's still
Thank
love
you,
and passion in Spurs Nation.
Right? Is that part
thank
of
you,
that
thank you.
Spurs La Cantera bunch that they just released? Is that part of it?
No, I've had this for a while actually.
Oh, all
Uh,
right.
yeah. Shout out to ex of mine that gave it to me years ago.
The X coming through. All right.
Hello,
You're watching. Hello. Thank you.
Marsha, boy Marsh. We got Greg in the building, and we're very happy to have with us from so many platforms. You may have seen him on Kens. You may have seen him doing YouTube. You may have seen him on Twitter. You may have seen him on IG. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Casey Vieira. What's going on?
What's up, man? You're
Let's
too
go.
nice. You guys are too nice. You know, we were talking before we came on. You guys, any of those things, whatever I'm working on at the time, you guys are always showing love. So, you know, I'm a firm believer in reciprocating on that front, and firm believer of showing love to content creators outside of here. You know, it's the next wave. So any chance I get any time I get a chance to do that, I'm gonna take you up on it. So appreciate you for having me.
That's
Yes.
great, man. It's a beautiful thing because you see out there, and I just tweeted about it right now. Everybody's just creating content, whether it be merch, whether it be art, whether
Yeah.
it be written, whether it be shout out to Southside Jeff and Locked On Spurs. Podcasts. I mean, it's just there's a lot of beautiful art and like work going into right now, and it's just really great to see.
There are, and I feel like, it's kind of ironic now I'm back doing TV again, but I feel like the game's changed from the standpoint that, people are getting more of their stuff and investing their time into things, platforms like this,
Yeah.
doing pods. The thing about the Spurs community, I thought you hit on that very well, man, is that I feel like it goes beyond pods and things like that. And like there's a lot of talented people, especially when it comes to creating their own merch. I don't know how they get away with it without having RCB for knocking on their door, being like, "Give me my royalties for having DeRozan Island on a T-shirt or whatever."
Yeah.
I don't know how they get away with it. But who is it? I followed somebody last night. Who was it?
Bear County Social Club.
Yeah, that one. And I was looking at, I came across it on Twitter last night. I was like, man, this guy's got some good stuff. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. Point being, a lot of people are doing a lot of good things right now. It's good to see, especially in the Spurs world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg is Greg's great mind came up with the whole Spurs versus everybody concept, and we just ran with it. I said, dog, I'm supporting you, man. This is what I'm saying.
Right now it's Spurs versus Spurs. But as soon as we get better, it'll be versus everybody.
Yeah.
It's versus everybody for Victor Wembanyama right now.
That is true. That's like the lone collective thing everyone can agree on, right?
Yeah.
If the road leads to Victor, I think everybody's all right.
Yeah.
We got to be victory less for Victor. That's the
slogan. I was going to say that. I was wondering that. I think that should be the pun this year, because I was wondering what's the play on words.
That's what I was trying to think of, because the process.
Snuck for Scoot. That's the other one.
Oh, there you go.
Victory less for Victor. Okay, that works.
So I was trying to think of like the process such galvanized such a fan base behind it, and I was just like, what is the Spurs version of that?
I don't know.
At least get some people together,
Yeah.
So some merge, have some fun, but it's like, nah, we can't come up right now.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna start a hashtag, victory less for Victor. We're just gonna start it. We're gonna run with it.
Listen, man, that guy looks like a freak.
Yeah, that doesn't even look real, bro.
That guy looks like a freak. It's like what Porzingis should have been.
Yeah.
It's like what Porzingis should have been times like 5. Because he looks like he's a better ball handler than Porzingis was, a better playmaker, can do more for himself.
Yeah, I think
I'm going strictly off YouTube clips and social media. I haven't paid attention to anything outside of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to act like I know incredibly a ton about this dude, but yeah, I mean, that's the end goal this year.
Yeah.
I think it's what
Right.
Bobo could be if given the opportunity.
My man Marshall is on the Bobo train 100%, man.
I really think I think the Spurs should have picked him up personally.
Why not?
That's what I'm saying. He's a freaking
monster
agent.
talent, right?
Yeah,
monster talent everywhere. So
why not? Why not?
I
I
mean,
what do you have to lose?
So that's one of our running jokes that we always had back. I don't know. This is probably in the bubble, the 2020 during the bubble, when the Nuggets had him. They had Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray was healthy, Jokic. I was like,
yeah.
They could be a team that could really go far, yet they don't play him. I'm like, well, if you're not gonna play him, give him the eyes. We use him. Like,
where did Bobo end up?
He's in Orlando.
Orlando, right?
Mm-hmm. That's another place where they have a bunch of bigs that they don't know what to do.
Yeah, Bol and Bamba.
They're like us with guards.
Yeah,
but they got the others reverse.
Yeah.
I think they got Bol, Bamba. They had
Bronze, Paulo, Wendell Carter.
I think
Jonathan Carter. Isaac.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac. Yeah.
You got Jesus.
Yeah.
That guy.
We already kind of getting into it, but I want to take a quick few seconds, a couple minutes, we should say, to acknowledge the passing of the great Bill Russell, man. That was, some sad news that we heard on Sunday. Bill Russell was 88. Casey, just in your own words, what did Bill Russell and the impact that he had on the NBA community, what does he mean to you?
I think it was just kind of for him, it was kind of a standard he set, even though the generational gap is really, like, you look at it then compared to the 90s as well, that's still like 3 decades right there, but still some of those players found ways to parallel to it from the on-court standpoint. Off the court, his activism and just trying to grow the game in a time when racial relations were just a disaster. Anytime you got a polarizing figure like that trying to do his part and bettering not only basketball but the world is something that's, of course, very admirable. Outside of that, you just kind of it's interesting because so much of the accolades in San Antonio of Duncan, you throw out there 5 championships and 500,000 MVPs and all these other things, and every single record that sounds absurd. And then you look at what Bill Russell did. I don't care if he was playing against guys. You could half of a starting lineup, 3/5 of a starting lineup are comprised the 3 of us. If you're out there winning 11 championships, it's like, oh my God, this guy's out here winning 11 championships. So
that's 13 years.
I mean, it spoke for itself. You know what I mean? It spoke for itself. It's it's unfortunate, but I think it's kind of one of those things where now you kind of use it as a chance to celebrate and reflect. And I didn't, and I know it's kind of picked up steam a little bit more. I didn't know that Tim Duncan sit down conversation with the 2 of them on NBA TV. I don't know if you guys saw. I had never seen that before. I had never seen that before. And so when that came across a couple nights ago, I was like, whoa. Yeah. And the context of it too, where he's saying Jackie Robinson,
that was crazy.
Yeah, wanted me to be his pallbearer, and
he was his favorite athlete.
Yeah, he was his favorite athlete. Could you imagine if you're Duncan and you're sitting there and it's in the same context of that?
Yeah,
where he's like, Jackie Robinson was my favorite athlete, or Jackie Robinson said that I was his favorite athlete, and you're my favorite athlete, so I want you to be a pallbearer at my funeral. I'd be like,
that's wild. You're like, whoa,
what? We just met, man. Yeah, we met like 3 times in person. You handed me a trophy. I don't know you otherwise, but no, it's cool. It's unfortunate, but I think it's a good opportunity to recognize and celebrate as well.
For sure. March, what do you think?
Yeah, Bill Russell, we always hear is one of the greatest of all time. So, when we have debates of who's on the Mount Rushmore, is he there, is he not there, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. for everything that he had to go through, in the 50s and 60s as an African American, trying to play the game, but also activism, pushing for civil rights. He was there. One of the greatest and coolest pictures to me is him being there next to Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I forgot who the fourth person was.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. That's one of the coolest pictures to me. And then also seeing that he was also the first, African American coach, kind of breaking that barrier at that time, and then advancing the game to where it is now. Because I don't think athletes would have the certain in a lot of sports, they wouldn't have the certain opportunities if it weren't for the Jackie Robinsons, the Bill Russells, the Muhammad Ali's. So he's in that category for me. And he just condolences to his family. Everybody has their time, you know what I mean, when they're called home. But he is definitely an iconic figure, won't be forgotten. And his impact on not just the game of basketball, but just out in the world and people in general is just beautiful, and will continue to be pushed through history.
Definitely. I think he was a beautiful soul. He, did things on and off the court that were special. He was the ultimate winner, ultimate team leader, on and off the court. I think, he mirrors it to Tim Duncan. That's why they had that video. And I saw another video that really touched me was it showed him putting his arms around his two teammates. And then it showed Duncan putting around his arm around his two teammates. And he says, it's about being a leader. You can't drag people with you. You have to just, put your arms around them and comfort them and instill confidence and bring them all together with you. And I just thought that was just really touching and really beautiful. So, God rest you, Bill Russell, man. I appreciate you living on this earth and doing what you did, and you won't be forgotten.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, that conversation with him and Tim Duncan, I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
I want to say a few years back.
I think it was 2009. It said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
I remember them.
2009.
Gotcha. I want to say I remember them re-airing it. It might have been when Duncan retired back in.
I'm sure they did. It was great. Yeah,
I think that was the first time I saw it, and I was just like, "Whoa,"
Mm-hmm.
But it just shows. It just shows how much Duncan, a Spurs player, and although however boring he was, how great of a person that he was, and what kind of culture we have here in San Antonio. So it's beautiful. But we want to roll on to Casey. You want to get your thoughts as we move topics to the Summer League. Give me your thoughts on the Summer League. What did you like that you saw? What do you wish you could have seen, and things to improve upon for the season?
Summer League, I thought was interesting from a few standpoints, because I felt like in a very rare circumstance, a Summer League team is going to be a large portion of the regular team. And in this case, the Summer League team featured about 4 guys who are probably going to be consistent rotational guys on the team. I was okay. I was content with what I saw. It's tough because I feel like there were a lot of little wrinkles that were thrown in the way with the COVID stuff with Sohan and eventually Primo that kind of, diverted things a little bit. But given the opportunity to do what they were able to do, mainly referring to Primo, Branham, and Wesley, I thought they did well. I know Wesley's numbers were incredibly inefficient. In my mind, who cares? If you're putting the ball in his hands, a 19-year-old first time stepping on any semblance of an NBA floor, telling him to go out and do this, who cares? I like more so the idea of him being confident to take shots, to make plays, to be aggressive, not be afraid to do those things. That stuff holds more weight with me than the volume. I liked him more so than I did Branham because, on the contrary, I felt like Branham looked like a guy who knew who knew what it was. He knew what it was. He's like, okay, I'm 19 years old. Here I am on in some semblance of an NBA floor. And I felt like it wasn't until the back end of Summer League, those last couple games, where he looked like someone who was really kind of settling in, feeling good about himself, especially in that last game. But largely, for the most part, I think there's positives to take away from it, largely more positive than negative. And I think it's the big thing for me was that assertiveness that Blake Wesley took, and Branham eventually getting things going. And it seems like Dominic Barlow is going to have a shot in some capacity to try to make
go.
Yeah, I say that because they, the Spurs, with the Spurs organization, it goes so much more about, it's the big thing with them is having a face and introducing you to the media and trying to reach people like that. And the Spurs, before they left for Summer League, they gave Barlow to the media scrum. If they didn't have any intention of at least trying to give him a shot or keep him around, they'd have been like, okay, let's bring up Keldon Johnson again for a second time. Who cares? You know what I mean? So I think they have some sort of, I don't want to say investment, but why not, for the sake of the conversation, at least mild investment in him. But I mean, the overriding point, I was okay with Summer League. I was okay.
Marsh?
I like what you said about Wesley, because I agree with you. I'd rather have him, not be afraid to take shots, and be aggressive, because eventually those shots will fall. At least we hope that they'll fall. Sohan would have loved to see him, play, but he had the COVID thing and wasn't able to go. So for me, it was kind of I don't want to say incomplete Summer League, but we didn't get to see everybody.
No, we didn't.
We only got to see Primo for a couple of games, so we'll see. We'll see when the regular season starts. But you're right. We could essentially see at least 4 or 5 of these guys get rotation time during the regular season, and most of the time, if you have a bunch of those guys in Summer League getting rotation in your regular season games, your team's probably not going to be the best. Which we kind of already, prepared for victory, less for victory, like we said.
Yeah.
So,
we've seen the Vegas odds.
I just wish I could have seen Sohan and see what all the hype is. I'm not a huge Sohan fan myself. I wanted to go with Duren personally, but not being able to see Sohan yet, and we'll have to wait for the season, is kind of like, okay, I don't know.
I hear that. Yeah,
I just felt like it was, I guess, for lack of better words, I felt it was an incomplete Summer League for me.
Yeah. I think what took a lot of the burnout was it was supposed to be kind of Primo's coming out party, right? Primo was supposed to show something. There was a little bit of hype building behind it. You were ready to see something from him, give us something to cheer about. And it kind of was like he went off for the last part of that game, which was nice to see. But you saw a lot of things that you like, the lack of burst, the lack of vertical explosion. You're like, there's some signs I really didn't like. And so it was kind of that buildup kind of like was a letdown a little bit. Blake Wesley, obviously you saw his explosion to the rim. He was able to get there when he wanted to. Obviously Pop told him, please work on your floater, because he was just getting packed or out of control at times. So it was like, we got to work on that a little bit. I think what happened, so what they're building is like a multiple ball handler system offensively, where everybody can pretty much run the offense or run the pick and roll and kind of do that. But what happens is you got to have the right kind of playmakers to do that. And I think in this Summer League, they had Wesley, Primo, what's my man's name? They signed him to a 2-way from St. Joseph's.
Oh, we talk about
Jordan
Hall.
Jordan Hall, all multiple ball handlers, but they didn't really work together as a unit. And so it's very hard to construct that with certain ball handlers. And I thought once Primo was taken out of the equation, Branham was able to fill in a role where he was more comfortable with the ball in his hands to be able to use a little more, be able to be more assertive. I think he was playing a little more hesitant with Primo and Wesley doing the ball handling. So that the construction of that team was kind of weird. I love Dominic Barlow. I love the underdog story. I love he has a lot of great tools. He was ranked one step below Sohan in high school, so he's no slouch. He has a lot of physical tools. He's a big project. He's very raw. A little concerned about his overall basketball feel, but I do love him as a project, and I always root for the dog. And then Darius,
why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah. At this point, you got to pick your, who you're gonna root for, who you're gonna go for. It makes fandom and this season very interesting. At least,
yeah. I agree. I gotta say, I'm not incredibly confident in this multiple ball handler thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Maybe if it was largely proven guys.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's the fact that it's a bunch of first, second, third year dudes who are going to be doing this. It doesn't have a resonating source of confidence within me. But listen, that's what the year is all about. It's going to be what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Steve, ultimately, you want to get to like the Clippers or you see it with Reggie Jackson, Kawhi, and Paul George, and Batum can all kind of handle the ball. You see it with the Celtics with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum, what Ime Udoka kind of installed over there with empowering Tatum and Brown let them dribble the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the idea behind everything. Constructing that team. You can see in OKC they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Giddey, SGA, Usman Dang. They drafted Jalen Williams. So I think that's where they're heading. It's like I said, it's very difficult to construct, and it takes a certain amount of players to do it. And I just don't think that summer league team was ready for that. Like you said, like it's too early, young for them.
Yeah, I think we're a very similar team to OKC. As Greg, you and I have talked in the past, that I feel DeJounte. I kind of put DeJounte and SGA in the same kind of category as far as players wise. I know they're different players, but as far as guys who are, were thrown into a system and had a star there with them, but then that star left, and then they had to pretty much take on the franchise on their back. I think SGA is a little bit better than DeJounte. So, but OKC's got a bunch of role players, not really star players, and that's kind of where the Spurs are headed as well, or where we are right now. With Wesley, the other thing I will say is the fact of the Spurs drafting him was a reason why we were able to let Lonnie go, because he essentially is athletic, maybe not as athletic as Lonnie, but he's going to take those shots. And if he's missing early, that's fine, as long as we see a progression and he improves on that shot and he's able to knock down, those shots year 2, year 3. I think he'll be a replacement. And one of the reasons why we probably let Lonnie walk too. And he's cheaper.
Yeah.
Him and Malachi too. Like if you think about it, Malachi, the score, they can't play defense.
Yeah.
Kind of, shadows Lonnie a little bit. Maybe he'll be that off the second unit scorer that we wanted Lonnie to be, possibly. And if he improves his defense, then he can possibly even start. So who knows at this point? They're so young. Everybody's so young. Everybody's trying to figure out who they are, figure out themselves as players, trying to improve. Yeah. So it's just gonna be a process.
I'll be entirely honest. I mean, the only thing I feel confident about is the fact that they're not going to win many games. But in terms of like how things end up playing out, in terms of what happens with, who shows up this year, who overachieves, who underachieves, what will be their strong points, what will be their weak points, along those lines, the actual, I guess, elements of what make up a basketball team. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have not the slightest clue what's going to happen. All I know is whatever does happen, I don't think it's going to lead to a whole lot of wins.
Mm.
Take that for what you will.
We'll take it.
It's hard to process, man. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Wanted to move forward. We have well, before I get into this, seems like we're in a very close relationship with the OKC Thunder. We're kind of taking on some of their players now, as we got Isaiah Roby as well. Quick thoughts on him.
Just a dude.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, you know, along the same lines of Barlow, he'll get a crack at these things, but largely I'm like, all right,
yeah.
well, welcome. You're going to get your shot too.
Yep.
For true. Like
That's why you
Sohan,
brought me up, keen insight.
like Sohan and Barlow kind of share the same like archetype. Supposed to be 1 through 5, the switchable defenders.
Yeah,
Roby's is another version of possibly a modern 4, could give you minutes at the 4, play him at the 5. So it's just different shots at you just got to take multiple shots at the apple.
Yeah.
See which one hits.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. I think, you know, talking about Sohan and Barlow, one thing that surprised me with Barlow was I didn't think he was going to be as athletic as he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to move as well as he did. I thought he was watching him in practice when we were there.
Exclusive.
This is exclusive stuff for you.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. You guys need a button to hit to tell when I'm telling you.
We're working on it.
Exclusive. Yeah, Marshall, make a sound or something like that. But I watched him in practice at shoot around. I was just like, okay. I mean, he's, you know, I can tell the Spurs want to try to give this guy a crack, but kind of looks big and lumbery and clunky. But then there was a couple plays in transition where he was throwing down a dunk on a fast break, and I was like, okay, all right, I like that. You know, I thought of him more as kind of a, you know, closer to a 5 as opposed to that Sohan more athletic type of build. I still kind of do think of that, but he did surprise me with his athleticism when it came time to actually play physical basketball as opposed to just shoot around and practice every single day for whatever that's worth. That's my scoop for you.
There you go. San Antonio Spurs right now, the home of role players. So if you need a role player, hit us up. We got you. DeJounte is now in Atlanta. Traded last month. He's probably my favorite player on the Spurs when it came down to
we fought about Derek White versus DeJounte and like both
Derek White versus DeJounte. I was always a DeJounte fan. I was never a big Derek White fan. I don't know. I didn't feel like he could have gotten any better than what he was, and I felt like DeJounte still has some growing to do and still could have. But we shipped him out. Now he is in Atlanta. Has been kind of going at a couple of fans have been talking about, you ain't going to win in Atlanta. So y'all ain't going to win for the next 15 years. I mean,
yeah,
going back and forth on Twitter. Do you think he is just taking shots just to shut the fans down? Do you think he truly believes that in his heart of heart, like screw San Antonio, you know, and he's kind of being a two-faced person?
I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't understand what he's trying to prove. I don't understand what he's doing. He comes off as two-faced to a fan base that loved him, largely adored him. It's kind of one of those things where what is the message you're trying to send here? Because even if there is some behind the scenes things that are going on, and I'm sure there are, all the things that he was very open about, that he was knocking presumably the Spurs, it was all the things that the Spurs gave him. He's like, oh, I'm free to do what I want. I'm free to do what I want, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you were the number 1 option on the team last year. You know what I mean? Like what more do you want? you were literally were the #1 option on the team last year. You are an all-star. So in that same sense of the term, your team that you're the #1 option on was not very good. You know, it's like you guys were not very good. The only reason you were in the play-in largely was because LeBron wanted to go on vacation in February. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, that was a big reason why this team was in the playoffs last year, was the fact that the Lakers were 1-2-3 Cancun all the way in February. So I'm like, okay, so the Spurs gave you what you want. You got the reps and you got the opportunities to succeed. You proved that you could, even though you're a replacement, you were still an all-star. But when it came time to actually do something, what happened? You guys went home. So you turn around afterwards in your tweets where you capitalize the first letter of every single word and make yourself sound like a victim, how they weren't looking out for you. I'm like, what are we doing here, dude? What are we doing? The only thing that I think, and mind you, I don't know anyone's in DeJounte's mind. I don't even know if DeJounte's in DeJounte's own mind sometimes. So I'm not qualified to talk on it. But I was trying to figure out, like, what could be the thing that made him so mad. And maybe he was of the belief that as the guy, they were going to give him, build around him, get talent to build around him. And at a certain point, they realized, whenever it may have been, they called an audible and they're like, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. We're not going to build around him. So let's sell high, maximize his value, and start from scratch. And then in that sense, as a 25-year-old kid, I could see, and put in that spot, I could see myself being a little bit emotional about it too, and being bothered by it as well. Would I have said the things that I said the way that he phrased it? Probably not, because all the things that he was fired up about, like, there's literally visual evidence to prove otherwise. You know, when the Kawhi, like when the Kawhi drama happened, that was all hearsay, two sides of the story. This, he's playing the victim, talking about how he wasn't given free reign when he had one of the highest volume usages in the league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what's the issue here? And if it was something like that, where he felt like the Spurs went behind him and decided not to build around him, maybe they told him one thing, fine. We'll never know that. Yeah. But largely as the whole, from what we have seen, from what we do know, not speculating, I'm like, dude, why? You know, what do you are looking to gain? And then, of course, they'll go on NBA TV and be like, it's all love. You know, I love this Spurs organization. What's going on here? The press conference. If it wasn't here, it was San Antonio.
You know, it's kind of interesting because I look at it I sort of look at it as he's kind of acting brand new in a sense, kind of like how KD did when he left the Thunder, went to the Warriors. Now he starts tweeting at people and doing this and that. I mean, we saw footage of DeJounte in the Drew League hitting the guy over the head with the ball, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? Yeah. Dude, you're lucky the dude didn't swing on you. Type that's the grounds.
People all of a sudden know that he doesn't have a flat top anymore, and he just lets it get to his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's out here trying to be flashy, this, that, and the other. And granted, I don't know if they're gonna, get to a championship with that current roster in Atlanta, but best to him for sure. But he's very he's starting to look worse and worse to me by the day. I mean, in his mind, he may be doing what he wants to do and feel free, this, that, and the other. Cool. I take it as maybe this was under Pop's guidance or whatnot. He was like, okay, I'm kind of going to be that good kid in line, this, that, and the other. But once, growing up military, they say you grow up in a military household, you got a dad, and he's like, okay, you're going to do this, this, this. Yes, dad, I got you, blah, blah, blah. And when you hit 18, you go to college, you're just like, well, I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm like this, I'm like, wild, it's kind of like, dogger, are we beginning to see something like that? Like, I don't know.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah,
that's funny.
True.
That's a really good analogy. I like that.
And like you kind of see the same thing. It's you hear the same things about the Patriots pretty much playing for Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. It's really kind of detail oriented, kind of militant, kind of like do your job, kind of scenario. And I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think it's, you see, and then people make the argument, well, it needs to be more like a Pete Carroll or smoking, sage with Phil Jackson. At the end of the day, you need talent.
Yeah.
Phil needed Shaq, Kobe, Jordan, Pippen. Pete Carroll needed the Legion of Boom, Russell, multiple first receivers, right. Marshawn Lynch. We needed Tim Duncan, Kawhi, the level of talent. At the end of the day, coaching styles are different and they can both be successful. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't know which one's more successful. But at the end of the day, you probably see more success rates from individual players, from Belichick, Saban, Popovich, and on becoming better players, individuals. So it's just tough. I think, like you said, he's emotional. They chose to walk away from him. They could have easily tried to build around him after his, explosion, and he felt like he was ascending as a player. I think a lot of it, I feel free, is probably like social media. Probably feels like he's going to be able to like do podcasts and, do more, be out there more. I think he's always wanted it. He had the New Balance show. Who
let the dogs out? Who?
Man runs the house.
He's wanting to sell
that door doesn't close. It can be ajar sometimes, and it'll push it open, as you saw right there.
I was gonna say he's learning how to open doors.
It's his house. It's his house. We just live in it. It's his house. We're guests in his home. He does him.
I'm sorry, Greg.
He's tired of the DeJounte talk. He's sick of it. He took off.
Oh, yeah. He gave everything he got to us. He improved. He got better. He's gone. I don't really, hate him or have any ill will for him. It's kind of, weird because he'll celebrate you and then like talk about the Spurs like that. It kind of rub people the wrong way, but I'm just like,
hey, man,
thank you for your time.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. What made it so weird was that I don't felt like Spurs Twitter, they whine, they complain, but still largely, did anybody like really, there's a select few number of people who are just openly like, this guy's trash. Mind you, they make themselves known, but largely for the most part, everyone liked this guy. Everyone liked him on the court. Everyone liked him off the court. Why are you suddenly like, what happened? What was the switch that you're just suddenly so mad at everybody? What happened? At what point was it that things just kind of changed, that you're just all of a sudden so fired up that you're going up there unsolicited initially saying these things like, I'm free now? What? I don't know. It's very strange. Do you guys think if you go to that game where Atlanta comes here,
oh God,
do you think you would boo him or cheer him?
I'd cheer.
Or just sit there and be like, eh.
I'd probably just sit there.
Yeah.
I'd cheer.
I'd probably cheer at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, then like he gave us good memories. He worked his tail off for us. It's not his fault that we chose to move on. I support the decision to move on from him. I think, there's some glaring weaknesses in his game that I don't particularly care for and helping building with somebody, especially in the modern day basketball. But he gave us good memories, man. I don't have ill will. I mean, and plus he's defending himself against people that are like going after him. Like, what's the point of going after an athlete, and antagonizing him? And he's the type of guy. Ever since like when everybody loved him was with Harden and he went at Harden, right? Yeah. And he had the Titans point. He's not gonna back down. He's gonna fight back. Like that's the type of player he is.
Yeah.
Person he is. So
yeah.
Do you think he will ever be an all-star again?
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I think this was I
No.
don't want to say it
Perfect
was
storm.
I don't want to say it's an anomaly, but with so many people, unless like half the league is hurt again,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Maybe, but
As a replacement, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he was a real good volume guy, mind you, at that. But those numbers, I mean, as much as we like them, I mean, you'd be lying if you couldn't say that those were not volume numbers. You know?
Yeah. I mean, he'd be behind SGA, he'd be behind Anthony Davis, he'd be behind Kawhi, Paul George. I mean, all those guys were hurt, and
Yeah.
didn't play. And
Yeah.
even a Draymond Green, which I guess you put him in there because of what he does on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Draymond another time.
Yeah. Still, he's in the converse, whether you agree or not. I'm in that
Yeah.
same boat with you. I mean,
Yeah.
he is still in that conversation. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he does, and especially with who he's got over there too.
Yeah.
He's not going to get those touches.
Only way he does if he starts knocking down that 3-pointer consistently, and if he does, I'm gonna be extremely mad. I'll be like, dog, where's this? Where's this?
Oh, you saw DeMar in Chicago hitting threes?
Yeah, like what the heck, bro?
Yeah.
Like, he went from being a 14 point per game to a 19 point per game. Now you scoring 25 a game, DeJounte. This is what we're doing now. Okay.
Yeah.
I do like the fit though with Trey because like we saw in the All-Star game that playing next to an elite playmaker is good for him. We saw him with LaMelo, and that was a good look for him. And then obviously a lot of people out there was wanting Levine because of his ability to play without the ball. And we saw something like similar in Josh Richardson. Is it able to play on the ball, off the ball, kind of move around, uses gravity as a shooter. Trey is pretty much the culmination of both of them together.
Yeah.
He has that shooting ability, gravity. He's going to be able to run around. Like they're probably going to employ some stuff for him. And he can play on ball like LaMelo, and DeJounte doesn't have to be burdened with being an elite playmaker because he wasn't. I'm not going to say he was an elite playmaker.
Well, I think the biggest DeJounte's biggest accolade there, the biggest thing he's going to help with is that they can do an even better job of hiding Trae Young defensively now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm not one of these guys who's all on board that DeJounte is the best perimeter defender in the league, but DeJounte is a very good perimeter defender.
Very capable.
And if you have another wing out there, there's a big difference between playing Kevin Huerter or Bogdanovich at the 2 to try and mask Trae Young's defensive inefficiencies than putting DeJounte Murray out there and trying to hide that. I think that's going to be big time for them. That's going to be big time for them if it does work. Probably, I think that'll be the biggest part of, I guess, the deal. The most, I guess, beneficial aspect of the trade is probably the best way to phrase it. I don't think people. We're living a league, a world where highlights run the league, and expectedly so. So much of the conversation is, who's going to do what with the ball when? Can they do it? I think the conversation should be the other way around. Is just how much that's going to help Trae on that side. I think unless they're playing Memphis and then Ja's going to 60-piece them again.
Yeah. But what's going to happen too is now they have two slightly built guys, and in this switching league where people are switching for matchups, going against the Giannis's, the Tatums, the bigger guys, they're going to try to get that switch onto either one of them. So that's kind of what I'm interested to see at how that, because we saw Derek White in the playoffs, and I was watching him. He was kind of even too small at times, or even not strong enough. You saw Jimmy Butler really go at him, and sometimes he was almost implayable because they were focusing on how his slight of a build was, his strength level.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in that kind of combo.
Yeah, it's tough though, because I mean, it sounds easy for us, but then you think about how many guys can actually do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a handful. I don't have time. I mean, we don't have time to do it right now, but you could probably count less than 10 guys who are capable of doing that in the league at a good, consistent level. So, I mean, I don't think that's as much a knock on it as it is per se. I do think, I do agree with that though. You're talking about Derek White.
Yeah, getting towards
that
it.
was that was so strange. It's like he never like after that COVID spell, he just never was the same.
Nah, he came in the season. I had some word that he was kind of coming in with an injury, and he was kind of dealing with that during the season. And Pop kind of alluded to that during the conference. He was like, he's kind of dealing with something right now.
Yeah, he had the foot injury at the start of the year too. Yeah,
and then he looked like once you take that vertical pop, because that was what he's kind of known for, is be able to go for the lip and kind of adjust, like almost like a Luka kind of thing.
Yeah,
just able to adjust in air and just do it slowly enough where it just works all the time.
Mhm.
Once you took that away from him, it was kind of like that was, and then he lost his confidence at one point. You could see that he was scared. Even in the playoff series, you could see that he didn't want to take the shot at times. He wanted to, he was just scared. And once you lose that, that's really tough to come back from. So,
I mean, you shoot with your legs, right? If your foot's not there and you don't have that, it's going to go a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was.
But if he could get his shot down, he probably would have played a huge role in that series.
Yeah, I mean, he was for me, he was not to go off topic, he was the X factor for that Celtics team to win the championship. If he played like he did in game 1 and he's at least giving you 15 points a game, Celtics win that series. I truly believe that. And I also felt like they should have played him at the PG, because now you actually have a guy that can run your offense, which is a little bit baffling of why Ime didn't do that. Because he, had knowing Derek from San Antonio, that he's run the offense before. Why not give him that shot to do that in the playoffs? Unless you just feel like he's gonna get cooked too bad by Curry. I mean, Curry was killing everybody anyway.
Yeah.
I just think they got him because at one point when DeMar was here and he was playing off DeMar, he was the second best secondary ball handler in the NBA. So it kind of fit with Tatum and him, where Tatum would handle the ball and he would be the secondary playmaker. And analytically, like the best lineup was Smart, him, when they went small. Jaylen Brown at the 3, Tatum at the 4, and Horford at the 5.
At the 5, yeah.
That's what kind of Brian Wright kind of echoed. He was like, "Look, when I saw the finals, I saw, a wing, basically a big jumbo wing, be the power forward. That's kind of where you get, Sohan from,
right?
It's like a 6'9", 6'8" kind of guy like Tatum be on the on that in that power forward position.
The only question is, can he shoot?
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to ask you, Casey, this question before we get off of the DeJounte. I know we've been on DeJounte a while.
Yeah.
So this is what I bring
more
up.
fun to talk about him than Malachi Branham. Let's be real. Call it what it is. Come on.
This is what I bring up between him and Derek White. So when DeJounte was here, obviously he had the Achilles MCL injury and
ACL
ACL ACL injury in the 2017-2018 season, right? Or 2018-2019 season. He was 18.
No, was it
2017-2018 season. That's what it was. Because that was Kawhi was kind of, am I going to play? Am I not going to play?
You're right.
I was looking forward to that season probably the most for me, because I was looking to see, can DeJounte take that leap with Kawhi? We ended up getting Rudy Gay. I was like, that defensive line that we had, I was like, we could potentially be right back there, in the finals, the years to come. That didn't happen, and he takes a little bit longer to develop. Derek White has a good playoff series, against Denver. Like, okay, cool. Or not, well, that's the next year. We're like, oh my gosh, he could be the this, that, and the other. For me, Derek and DeJounte always seem to clash heads. It may not have looked like it, but I feel like they got in one another's way. And I think that hindered both of their growths, which kind of, to me, is like, okay, why are we continuing to put ourselves in that situation if you're the Spurs trying to get these guards that are probably going to end up butting heads? Branham and Wesley is another possible example. You throw Lonnie in there as the third guy between White and Murray, even though he's not a PG, he's not getting his confidence and whatnot. So he's not getting playing time. He does one bad thing, Pop yanks him. Yeah. Who's going to be that next guy stepping up now? Right. That's going to, kind of be that Lonnie, who's going to be that Lonnie now that is going to be, all right, can I do certain things or is Pop going to pull me? Is that going to be Branham?
Right.
Is that going to be Wesley? So competition is good. Greg always says competition is good. I want the best guy. And I get that. But at certain times, I'm just like, you got to
And if you're a
develop.
log jam,
If you're going to get log jam with, at one time, it was Murray, White, Forbes.
You guys are going to laugh at this because
Say again?
I said you guys are going to laugh at this because
No.
I have to step aside. I was telling you about my dog getting the haircut.
Mhm.
The way our dog gets the haircut is a service we have come to us. That's them right there. So
okay,
you're gonna get some live entertainment here.
let's go. Exclusive.
I'll be back. Come on. I'll be back in a minute. Don't worry.
Spurs versus everybody.
Get it.
Yeah, you see me, Marshall B. I'm with Casey Vieira and my buddy G. Ooh.
Bars.
Bar.
On spaghetti.
We love our Spurs, and it's Fiesta time. But how we gonna get the siesta time because it's so hard? Are we gonna tank? Are we gonna go for it? It makes you think. Spurs versus everybody.
Mm.
Everybody in the comments, what's going on? How's everybody doing? What's
I forgot to tell you, we're supposed to get Casey out around 4. So
all right, we're back. We're good.
I don't know what this means.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we have the groomer come here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the groomer that we usually use, we moved to the other side of town, so we needed a groomer, and the groomer that we usually take them to is just too far. It turns into a 3-hour ordeal between taking them, waiting an hour. We're just like, okay, whatever. So we have this come here. Nice people, a little bit pricey, but you know what?
Yeah.
Time is money, whatever. Gas is hard, inflation, all those cliche things we've been hearing about in 2022, all applicable in every aspect of life, just being no different. So get a glimpse into the day of the life of Casey Vieira. You're welcome. Anyways,
finding a dog groomer is definitely a task. You want to make sure you get, because that's your guy. You got to make sure he's right, the right people. It can go wrong real quick. So it's like,
it can. A lot of people judge you based on your dog's haircut.
Yeah.
My dog, I got a little salt and pepper in the beard, got a little salt and pepper in the temples. So they say your dog looks like you. When he gets back, we'll show him. We'll see what time he gets back, and I'll let you guys be the judge. Yeah. See, the thing is with his haircuts, he needs them because he's wired haired. So his hair looks, those wired hair, not the most aesthetically pleasing things when it's long. And his wire hair just happens to be white/gray, and he's a little black dog. So when he's got it full on going on, he looks like 18 when he's 8. So he looks like he's on the way out, when in reality he's in immaculate health, so
all disheveled. You're like, oh, come on, help me out.
I know.
He's trying enough to push open doors.
Yeah. Yep.
He's like, it's go time.
We'll get the groomer in here. Yeah, we'll get the groomer in here next. We'll ask her what her
Get that exclusive by Marshall.
Yeah, right.
Exclusive.
Yeah, they came early, which is good. So now I got a little more time to hang out with you guys. So they came early. They were supposed to come about 40 minutes from now. 40 minutes from now. So they showed up. My wife texted me in the middle, and she said, "Oh, they're on their way." And I'm like, "I don't know." Here we are.
Greg, hit that button.
Right.
Working on it.
So we are back after that nice fun.
Were we
Only
on
here,
that
only
whole
here.
time? I was hoping we were on that
Yeah,
whole
we were
time.
freestyling. We were having fun.
Okay, good. I was gonna say that was some quality content that people,
Only here on Spurs vs. Everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check out the
Pretty equal.
freestyle. I'm available
Freestyle.
for bookings, nights and weekends. Let's see. So we were discussing about
The philosophical debate on whether like can you have too many similar people on a same developmental track at one time, and does that make a kind of everybody loses in that factor?
Yes.
Yeah. I honestly I think that was the fact that they broke up Derek, because you're referring to Derek and DeJounte.
Yeah.
If I'm not okay. So that I thought that was inevitable that they have to, because your two best players can't do the same exact thing. And while there's little differences here and there between the two, but largely the two of them were the same exact player. DeJounte was better than Derek White, but it's not like there was a huge gap, so to speak. And they were going to have to break that up at some point. At some point, they were going to break it up. I thought they broke it up at the right time in terms of the sense that they maximized the value for each of them. But in terms of that developmental process, that's just kind of like how you play out, and just being average. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, we're what, 3 years? We're doing this 3 years, too long. We're going square peg, round hole, and trying to tell ourselves that this team was good enough to win, notably. You can't really do that if two of your primary players do the same exact thing. And that's what they were.
Yeah. With that too, I was also including Forbes and Walker. I didn't think Forbes should have been here as long as he was.
And I got my hair all messed up now, running outside. I'm on TV now. Come on, guys. Show your boy some decency. Okay. All right. That'll do. Okay. What?
I was saying I didn't think Forbes should have been here as long as he was, personally. He just caused more of a log jam, and then you get Lonnie, and now you even get Trey Jones, even though he doesn't get as much time. But it was just too much. I mean, we needed to be focused around bringing in people to help DeJounte, who was – and I guess that was the thing. It wasn't clear enough whether DeJounte or Derek was better, because we had, I think, a fan base divided, and then I think we also had probably some coaches divided too on who was better.
That's true. Yeah.
I liken it to like the Timberwolves. You see D'Lo versus Pat Bev. And where D'Lo's more of the guy's going to get more uses, the more shots. But Pat Bev is the low usage defender that's going to allow Edwards and Cat to get more touches. And that's how I saw the difference between them two. As Eric he knows how to get people his spots. He knows how to get it to the players. He has no problem taking the back seat. I think DeJounte wanted to be that scorer kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, that summed up very well. I agree with that. On the T-Wolves front, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Plus, you got some good, we're gonna have that play-in meme with Pat Bev the rest of our lives.
We are the champions of the play-in.
I know. Inside was just way out of pocket with that, man.
Yeah.
But also bad luck for the Spurs. I mean, golly, you're gonna play the Pelicans and Memphis. They're both gonna be really good teams. Like they're on the they were both at the perfect time. Like the next year they're gonna hit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, can we get someone else? Like
Pelicans, Grizzlies,
come on, LeBron.
Yeah. But that also kind of shows you how far the Spurs have to go right now, right?
Oh yeah, it's a minute. It's a minute.
Yeah. Now my last hypothetical. Okay. I'm thinking about all this because I feel like the Spurs just don't go after those big free agents. They don't take chances. And I always hear it's a small market, this, that, and the other. I feel like there was a couple of times when Kawhi, well, I speak most on when Kawhi was here, right? And right before he ended up departing, we held on to about 2 or 3 players a little bit too long to where I felt, hey, why don't we bring in some superstar talent to bring with him? And then I think that'll help us continue to grow as a franchise. What I'm referring to is he had wanted to play with a Paul George. Paul George had just come off of his injury. We still weren't sure. I would have taken a shot on him. I would have taken a shot when Jimmy Butler was a potential free agent.
Right.
I felt like we held to Kyle Anderson, Tony Parker, Danny Green, and Manu Ginobili a little bit too long.
Right.
Just a little bit too long. And that could have been used to bringing in the Paul Georges or the Jimmy Butlers, and maybe Kawhi does end up staying. DeJounte develops. We still get Derek White, potentially still draft Lonnie, and now we're still in play as a respectable franchise, or still a respectable franchise, but we're still in play near the top rather than being at the bottom. Trying to
DeJounte on us.
Yeah. Say it again.
I thought you just went DeJounte on us, not a respectable franchise anymore.
No, I take that back as respect. What I meant was more of we're here at the top rather than trying to rebuild. Because some in some instances there are people on the outside that don't look at the Spurs as being a respectable franchise because of what we did to Kawhi, and now with this DeJounte thing, we're kind of like, I don't know about the Spurs.
Right.
So
I think when it comes to whether or not they made the deal, I think the Spurs were kind of a prisoner of their own identity, so to speak, because forever it was we like what we have. We like what we have. We like what we have. I feel like we like what we have works a whole lot better when you have a team that's built with Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. You can throw all those guys out there. That works because they had those 3, that foundation that was set right there.
And they're willing to take a discount.
Right. The we like what we have is not applicable when you're playing without Tim Duncan, a past his prime Ginobili, a past his prime Tony Parker, a LaMarcus Aldridge who doesn't even want to be there at the time. They're trying to, I don't want to say beg him to stay, but that whole situation, the first round before he resigned was a mess.
Yeah.
And they were so married to the idea of we like what we have, we like what we have, we like what we have. And if those stories that Paul George was actually out, was in play at the time and wanted to play with Kawhi, it's easy to say in hindsight, but that is something that kind of bit them and consistently has bit them of just standing pat.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that when you have the stars that they had. Well, I was going to say 20 years ago, but prior to the past 3 years for 2 decades, you know what I mean? You can afford to stand pat. Now they couldn't. And I think they were just kind of still caught up in that mindset, that mentality and all those things. And that cost them at the time what probably could have been. And now that I say that, it's almost kind of amazing that they did come reasonably close to winning a championship during that window, winning 60 plus games those couple years. But afterwards, I mean, it was that same kind of mindset after the Kawhi trade that bit them a couple years. You know what I mean? And now we're realizing, now I think they see it, they realize it, that, when you find a direction and you're being assertive and you're not standing pat and you're being aggressive and finding an identity, I think that's more beneficial. I know I kind of went a little all over the place here, but I agree with you. I think that time, at that window, they should have, maybe put their foot to the gas a little bit more and not be afraid to, get a little weird. And get a little weird. That window is not open for a long time.
Right.
The NBA works in 4-year windows, 3-year windows.
Yeah.
And I think if you had that chance,
even player movement now.
Yeah.
And you're good. I go way around.
Yeah.
Down,
Gotta land it. Just gotta make sure you land it.
But I get back to the point.
Yeah, right. Just make sure you land. Just make sure
Landing
you land.
part.
Yeah.
But now people will argue it's too aggressive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I am not of the belief, and this is not a bias being San Antonio resident working in a San Antonio media type of thing. I'm okay with where they're at collectively right now as an organization. Because I felt for too long they were just committed to this idea that they were somehow going to win. When everybody was like, we're seeing this, we're like, this ain't working anymore, guys. Like Aldridge is past his prime. DeRozan is not a number one option. This ain't working, guys. This ain't working. And I think the fact that they finally came to that realization, really, I guess 2 years ago now, by letting DeRozan walk, that they came to this realization are committed to it. That's encouraging to me. That's encouraging to me. The fact that this is where they're going now. Yeah. And if we're being honest, it needed to be done.
Yeah.
It needed to be done. What was the quickest fix out of this? It's not like the assets they did have were good enough to bring in like a real star that could, you know what I mean? That could take you to the next level alongside DeJounte Murray. You're going to trade the likes of Brent Forbes and Lonnie Walker, whoever, and think you're going to get like a Bradley Beal. And, you know, that's not going to happen. So get out of that level, that gray area, that just purgatory, blow it up now, find that youth and go from there. Exactly. And people, because, you know, I love the fan base, but let's be real. This is a very spoiled fan base, tremendously spoiled fan base. Yes. Hunting on 2 years to find a sense of direction and building young guys is not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's if your team is trash and there's a management GM group behind it that it's very visible that you don't know what you're doing, then I think you worry.
Kings.
There's a you know what I mean? Then I think you worry.
I want Stauskas.
There's at least structure there. You know, there's people who are competent at doing the job and have proven that they can do this at a tremendously high level. Even though the past few years have kind of shown that maybe they're a little bit dated, I think when it comes to something like this, you at least owe them that window to try and figure out. And if in 3 years right now, none of the guys who they drafted turned out into anything and they're still mired where they are, well, that's a different conversation. You know what I mean? Then at that point, you're like, okay, you're reevaluating everything. 3 years, you would think Popovich is finally gone, but you're like, okay, Brian Wright, 3 years from now, you haven't drafted anybody good, get out. You know, and then you're like, as a Spurs fan, I think at that point, right. And then if you're at that point where it's like 3 years and the team hasn't progressed and this GM group, managerial group is not doing anything anymore, then I think it's fair for you to get up in your feels a little bit. You know what I mean? Then I think that's completely reasonable. But for one season, now that the team has a direction, I'm not worried about it. I think the Spurs fans who are just, you know, acting like, I want to root for a team who's going to win. Well, keep rooting for the team that was going to win the past few years. That's going to win you 38 games and get out in the play-in. You know, have fun with that. Like, you know, and I feel collectively that this city, I know there's a lot of concern around this fan base, really from a box office standpoint. I know there's a lot of concerns like, oh, we don't have a star to bring in, all these things. This is just me from my perspective. I would much rather invest, because there's nobody on this team really who's a box office draw anyways, nor was there previously. I would rather know that I'm going to go and spend my money to see these young kids compete, try, know they're going to play hard every single night and support these guys and get behind kind of a group of hardworking underdog kids, then go out there and just see a bunch of veterans and a team that's just going to be mediocre. You know,
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know about you guys. That's my preference. See a bunch of homegrown kids I know are going to play well. It's something refreshing. It's something different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like this is not a bad place where they're at. And then on the other sense of it, like the guys who they drafted, the guys who they have, the guys who are they're pumping out right now. Wesley, Branham, Sohan, these are all likable guys.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it in the sense that for a team that's going through a full identity rebuild and trying to show their face out there, like they knocked it out of the park because you got a blonde dude with an English accent. You have probably the happiest dude right now in the city of San Antonio, and Malachi Branham, who's got $1 million smile. And
Go
then
check
you
out
have,
Casey's interviews.
yeah, no, but yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I tell you what, with those, you're reminded how young 19 years old is.
Oh, really?
Like you are just reminded. Yeah, you know, and talking to Blake Wesley, there was a part in that as well where he was saying he was saying that his parents are coming out to live with him for the first few months.
Okay.
And you're like, an NBA player's got mom and dad living with him. Yeah, well, the NBA player is 19 years old and hasn't lived outside of South Bend his whole life and has just been given a 7-figure contract.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but if I could do it, I'm definitely there too. But point being, again, we sidetracked all over the place here.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, we're all over the place. Listen, you just watched me take my dog out. I think we're past the point of
we're good.
The normalcy went out the door with that. But I think they're doing it. I think they're okay right now. You know, they have kids are going to go out there and play hard. You have kids that they can brand. The best player on the team right now is a player that people like. Is very charming. You know, if for the DeJounte haters, you know, one thing I think is a real nitpicky type of thing. DeJounte was never the most endearing person to reach a household name, you know, to be a household face. They're like, okay, DeJounte, he's cool. But it felt like DeJounte as a whole never really had to like clicked with the community. You know what I mean? Like a Lonnie Walker kind of did.
Yeah.
I mean, the gap between he and Lonnie Walker talent-wise is far and away. But I think most people as a whole, they found Lonnie Walker more likable, things like that. You know what I mean? So I think
his story. I mean,
right, exactly. His story, right, and all the details we subsequently found out after. But I think so much of the battle when it comes to the Spurs is that San Antonio, you know, you guys live here, we all live here, is that it's like a college town. You get these names so they can get inside the house and they can become household names, and it grows off of that. And I think they realize that. They realize the identity of what it is. That's why they're being more, I guess, for lack of a better term, marketable and more friendly with the media in terms of pumping these guys out, these younger guys out, because for this season, those are smart people up there. They know they're not going to win games. So what's the biggest way that you can get eyes on your team this season? Because it's not going to be the win-loss. It's going to be kids who are marketable, good personality people, charming, engaging types, going to reach, endear the household, become household names like that because they're good character people, good personalities, people you want to cheer for. You know what I mean? Likable people you want to cheer for. And they're going to play hard. They know those three things are going to happen. And I think this year, that should be the focus. And while as backwards as it is, as it sounds, so to speak, you're not prioritizing wins and losses. I think the priority should be, you know, all the things outside of it, all the things outside of basketball here, because people know they're going to be bad. They're not going to win games, but they're going to be a whole lot more welcoming, endearing, and supportive if they have these guys in front of them who they like and they know they can cheer. I mean, you could be a bad team and everyone thinks all the players on the team suck and they're just not approachable. They're just not fun, you know? And then what are you doing? You're not getting Victor Wembanyama, and everyone doesn't want to go to the game because they don't like any of the players and the team sucks. So what do you do? So right now, I think they focus on fixing one half of that, of getting everybody to like this team, to know this team, accept the fact they're going to be bad, but then you build off that. people will get behind you. They will cheer for you and be more forgiving if they see you playing hard because they like you. You know, as backwards as it is, that's how it kind of goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how it kind of goes. And they see that. Not to mention another thing too, and they kind of got lucky. I was talking about this with someone the other day. They kind of got lucky that this season fell on the 50-year anniversary. So you're going to have a lot of people who are checking in from that standpoint in terms of draws. You know, this is going on, 50 celebration, this event. They're going to get people in seats on that front as well.
Yeah.
So they got lucky that they can invest some time into that this year as well. But
to getting also, you got that new practice facility that is going to be opening up. When is that supposed to set? Is that opening? Is that this year? Or is it
not this year? Not this year. I know it's not this year. If anything, it'd be next year. But I know the players care because the first thing Blake Wesley said before we sat down was, I asked him something to the effect of, how is it you like it? You've been what's it been like coming to the Spurs so far? How's it been? He's like, oh, it's been crazy, man. Have you seen the new practice facility? One of, if not the first thing he said. So the players care. And that's a guy coming from Notre Dame.
Yeah,
it's not like he was coming from like Lehigh or something like that. Some reason I'm from the East Coast. Yeah, I'm from the East Coast, so Lehigh for some reason.
East Coast?
Yeah. You know it.
Which part from the East Coast, Casey?
Jersey.
Jersey? What part of Jersey?
New York. Flemington, Hunterdon County.
Clement? Okay. I got family in Lakewood.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little ways away.
Yeah.
A little ways away. Yeah. Shout out Hofstra University, man.
Yeah, shout out Hofstra. That's right. That's good.
Shout out Hofstra. I tell people all the time, and you'll appreciate this, is that I like to think I'm San Antonio's second greatest Hofstra import after Speedy Claxton.
Let's go. That's got to be on the bio somewhere. Yeah, that's got to be on the bio.
Jay Wright is kind of working his way up there, though.
Oh,
he's gained he's gained popularity. The last thing I need for that label is him to take the job after popularity.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going down to number 3.
Like, got to change the bio.
Yeah. Gotta edit that in the Twitter.
Just one thing that I just wanted to add to one thing that you were saying. I like the mindset that you're going into with the season. I feel like that's what we should all have going into the season, with that particular mindset of rooting for young guys who we want to see grow, and, be likable guys, for the future. Whether they'll be here or not, we don't know. But we just want to be able to connect with these guys. And DeJounte never really felt like that, the face more than a Lonnie did, even a Keldon sometimes, Bryn Forbes. People love Bryn Forbes.
Well, but I mean, what does that tell you? Like, what is that? I don't want to say that's necessarily an indictment on DeJounte, but like, you know what I mean? You can't let a guy like Bryn Forbes you can't let a guy like Bryn Forbes be a more relatable player when you're DeJounte freaking Murray.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Aldridge didn't work here as well.
Yeah. That too. Certain guys, they just don't have that personality, being personable. But I will say,
considering Kawhi did work here.
Yeah.
I just saw that commercial indubitably on Twitter.
Yeah, honestly, that's pretty what he showed us, little semblance of personality. Yeah. But you know what? That's how you know he did work here, because if people thought he just kind of sucked as a general overall human, they'd be like, get out, bro. But it's the fact that they were hurt. They were legitimately hurt by it.
I think a lot of that too was he was still under the tutelage of Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. More of Tim Duncan. And then once Duncan retired, I mean, literally the next season, we made the conference finals, and then after that, it all went downhill. Yeah. So Duncan had a lot to do with
holding things together,
keeping order. The other thing I was going to say was, for the Spurs now, it is, in my eyes, at least for the next 2-3 years, getting Wembanyama in the draft next year is huge. I mean, that is that would be an incredible pickup that would put the Spurs in even more of a mindset of a direction of where we're going. Because if we don't get him, now I'm kind of like, okay, we're kind of like not as bad as them because they have bad ownership, but we're kind of in the same realm as the Sacramento Kings, New York Knicks, kind of like where do we go in that sense?
The Knicks route with Casey.
I know the Knicks are, in a different
category. Shout out to Jalen Brunson.
I've dialed. I don't know if you've noticed. I've dialed back my Knick fandom a little bit now that I've worked for. Now that I work for the station that carries the San Antonio Spurs 12, 15 times a year. So I've dialed back the homerism a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking at it. The Knicks, and the only reason why I compare it to them is like, there's times they've been the worst team or dang near the worst team. Had we're gonna get the number 1 pick, didn't get it, got 4th or 5th, and had to settle for they don't pick well anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they don't pick well. The Spurs, we haven't necessarily hit on picks. So I don't really know what it would look like for us if we get in the top. The Spurs, if they get in the top, 4, 3 picks. We're picking guys 9, 12, 15, 20s, stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
And even that, I don't know how that's particularly going to work. We'll have to see with the Sohan versus the Duren thing.
Yeah.
So, that's why I'm very interested to see if, for whatever reason, we're the worst team and don't get Wembanyama or don't get that number 1 overall pick. Where do we go from here?
It's almost like you kind of have to assume and make the plan that you're not going to get him because. Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I mean, there's a 75% chance or whatever it is now that the Spurs are not going to get him. So while it's all fun to have these hypotheticals of being like, oh, we look like this, we got Victor at center and whoever, whatever. Well, in all likelihood, or in more likelihood, that's not going to be the case. Yeah. So I think if you have a situation where you're kind of, I know the other guy they're talking about was it Scoot Henderson. Who's really making waves. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough to say it, but some people are even like, he might go number 1 overall.
Yeah, they're comparing him to D-Rose.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a 50%, I think it changes, though, if you put, like, him and Victor in the same category, Because then I think you think about it a little more, and you're like, okay, we have a 50% chance of landing one of these 2 guys. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, I mean, if your glass half empty, you're like, we have a 50% chance we're going to end up with somebody else. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Whitmore or somebody.
Yeah. Or I mean, they could just overachieve and end up with the 8th pick again. And then
we're back.
We're right back to where they are. You know what, man? But that's like, listen, that's what screwed the Knicks over for so long, It's like, it's really tough.
Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox.
Yeah, it's really tough to hit. After you get out of like 4, I mean, it's really tough to hit on a transcendent franchise-altering player.
Yeah.
It's really tough. And the Knicks, I mean, they've gone for like for the last 20 years when it comes to picking outside of like the top 8, Yeah. But that kind of goes back to what we were talking about and why I'm okay with blowing things up because
dummy proof it. Let's dummy proof it. Let's get where it's not so much thinking. It's like, hey,
exactly. But that's why
these are the guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm okay with what the Spurs are doing or blowing this thing up because I'm fine with them finding this direction because there's been documented evidence too many times that if you're caught between 8 to 12 and you're picking consistent role players, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. So I mean, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Yep.
It's direction and there's hope in it. For a lot of people, there's hope or there's fear. And it depends on what side you want to choose on. Is there hope for a new?
God, that sounds so ominous.
and to be honest with you, time's going to be the ultimate judge, right?
Yeah,
we have no idea. We have no idea how this is going to go.
Antonio Daniels the other day, he said something. I'm paraphrasing here. Was that people think it's going to be a 1-year thing? It's not.
Oh no.
It's not. It's not. It's going to be
This is going to be a
for like okay, if they get it right.
Yeah.
Like, this is if they get it right. You're looking at least a 3-year process.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe 2. You know, things go really, really well. But realistically, if they get it right, and this is a playoff team, you know, they get Victor, they get Scoot, whoever it is, you're looking at like 3 years from this current day that they're back in the postseason again.
You got to get the right role players. Hopefully we have them. Then you got to get the bench, and then you got to make sure they all grow. And you got to deal with injuries and stuff. And it's just, it could be if you're lucky, it's something like Memphis, right? They hit on Ja, they hit on Jaren Jackson, and boom, they hit on Desmond Bain.
Well, like,
now
what
they're ready to go.
You know, it's like, think about it. You have to hit. I mean, that's tough.
And you got to be lucky those drafts are good back to back.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too. That's the other thing too. You can be critical and like, oh, we drafted such and such at 9, 10. Well, what if it's all trash behind them at 11, 12, 13, 14 outside of the top 3? There was nothing there. You know what I mean? There's nothing there.
You know, I look at right now, which is the gold standard for NBA, Golden State Warriors. I have to give them those props.
Right.
The year Curry was hurt and Thompson was hurt, and I mean, they were bad for 2 years. 2 years that they were bad. And then what ends up happening? Now they won
after
the championship, and they're only getting better with the draft. I mean, they got Wiseman, he hasn't even played much. Kaminga, Moody, Poole, they got Thompson. They're as much as we don't like the Warriors, I have to give them their props. And essentially, they kind of got their model. And I always say this: when they won their first championship, they did what the Spurs did in 2014, but took it to another level. Because the Spurs, when we won in 2014, we had your starters put up points, but then your bench was your main reason of why you're able to continue success, and you're able to get role players, draft role players, get role players to come to you that may not be big names, but they're putting up 10 plus points. They've continued that model as that consistency.
Yeah, you see it in Miami too.
Huh?
You see it in Miami too. They're able to find these players.
Yeah, in Miami too. They haven't won, since LeBron and them were there, but they put up when they needed to, when it counted, they put it up numbers. So for now, we have the role players. Spurs have the role players. Now you just got to get that superstar.
Hopefully. They're not just they can't just be role players. They got to be elite role players.
Yeah. They got to be elite role players, which we're trying to build right now. But we just need that superstar. There's a couple of superstars. There's a transcendent player. Something that you can be like, that guy can take me and be the best player on the championship team. Even though they're the one in a million players, a LeBron type, a Giannis type,
an MVP caliber,
caliber player,
right? But the thing is, this is their best way of getting. As unfortunate as it is, this is their best way of getting one.
Yes,
right. What they're doing, this is their best way. Honestly, really, it's their only way. A small chance of it happening. This is the only way you do it.
Yeah. So hopefully we are
just all hopeful here. This is jump back on the train.
Man,
could you imagine Spurs for the next 5 years if we were like, it's just a cycle of going through it? Like, man.
Well, I will say this. At least we know that they're going to be here in San Antonio, as far as I know, for at least the next 10 years. But
it's a whole nother argument.
Yeah, it's a whole nother argument we won't get into today, because that's a long one. Thoughts on Keldon Johnson's extension, Casey?
Good number. It's a good number. And guess what? Now you're going to see the final finished product of the dog. On the topic of looking like $80 million.
$80 million. Oh, man. Everybody in the comments, man, how y'all doing? Everybody's doing
down, Marsh.
Oh, man. Thank y'all for tuning in and listening. Spurs versus everybody. Guys, we'll be fine. Spurs will be fine. I know it's a struggle right now. I know it's irritating. It's very frustrating to be a Spurs fan right now. I mean, I am worse.
I forgot where I put my wallet. 1 second.
No problem. I am worse, a Cowboys fan. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you know the pain going through just being an okay to subpar team, and not winning anything for years. So as a Spurs fans, we're bad right now, but things will get better. Things will get better. I already know things will get better. So just keep having faith, y'all. Keep having faith. We'll be good. We'll be good. On a side note, while I'm here, for all of you that love all sports,
Let's go.
we'll be bringing back. It was a bit of a fan favorite. Stats versus facts sports talk. I know I talk about it all the time. Baseball,
All right, we're back.
basketball, soccer. We'll be having it coming on.
Oh, there he is.
My boy Levy looks clean, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
Lee. You said Levy?
Lee. We call him Levy.
So fresh and so clean.
Hey,
Right?
Lee.
He looks good.
What's up, dog? Not even trying to be funny.
Right.
Now he's shy. He's opening doors earlier. Now he's shy.
Yeah, no, all right, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Just your thoughts on the good number for Keldon Johnson's contract. It decreases in value each year.
Well, another thing with that 80 million. Sorry, I'm putting this collar on. Another thing with that $80 million, like you said, front loaded like that.
Yeah, front loaded.
Yeah, front loaded like that. That cap number is gonna boom in a few years with the TV deal coming up.
Yes.
So think about how much money that saves. That probably saves like an extra 10 to 15 million dollars by having it go the other way like that, because you figure, okay, there's 10, you're getting 10 with the boom, and then you're probably, I have to see what the structure is, but if it went reverse, I'd assume between year 1 and year 4, it's like a $7 to $8 million difference, right? So then you're looking at,
I think it's last year.
It's like 21, and then the last 2 years like 17.5.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're looking probably somewhere between like 12 to 15 million dollars that the cap boom will give you.
Yeah. So that contract could be worth 12 million, and in this day, like in this current scenario.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the Spurs did right by that one.
Yeah. I mean, he earned it. I mean, that's where his
value.
He
earned it.
That's what I think where his values about. I put that somewhere between, in that realm of John Collins, somewhere around John Collins and whatever Grant Williams is going to make, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Do you see Jakob potentially getting traded before the deadline?
Yes.
Oof.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think we get back a good piece, or do we just get a expiring contract and
we get Gorgie Dang
draft pick?
We get Gorgie Dang minutes.
Yeah, that's what you get. Listen, that's tough to say, because if you would have told me that they would have gotten a first-round pick for Thaddeus Young this time last year, I would have said, like how they swung that is crazy. I got to give Brian Wright credit. I mean, the man's hit the eject button, and jumped out of just a blowing up jet over here and just getting, just blowing up everything in front of him. But the returns that he's gotten have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the fact that DeRozan was already 1 foot onto his flight to Chicago. I know that's a bad to use too plain pun, but he was already 1 foot on his flight to Chicago, and he ended up ultimately swinging 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay. Derek White, a first-round pick for Derek White.
I was surprised with that.
Okay, sure.
Hey, watch your mouth, Marshall. He's an elite defender. He's an elite defender. He's still worth it.
I mean, maybe a first rounder before Derek White before he caught COVID and has been in the unfortunate COVID haze or whatever ever since. But I got to give the man credit. Oh, we're not even talking about 3 picks for DeJounte. The man has done well in theory. Obviously, you get the picks, you have to hit on them. Different story. But the fact that he's gotten as much as he has, like, how am I, for where they are right now, how am I supposed to be like openly critical when with where they are right now, where they're expected to be largely unproven, unknown, and largely just going to be bad. The big thing you focus on at this juncture is maximizing your assets to potentially succeed in the future where we're at. I mean, he's done that.
Right.
He's done that. You know, you talk to me 3 years from now and then they're in the same spot. Okay, then.
Oops.
And DeJounte has gone 3 for 3 in an all-star game since.
Nostradamus over there was correct.
2 things. One, if that's the case, then DeJounte has pretty much put a Boosie curse on us. And number 2, I'd rather be in the situation we are now than be in the Lakers situation.
And that's above all else, that's what matters most.
Yeah. But in a perfect world, I want Victor Wembanyama, I want Bol and and potentially MPJ, and we can run it.
You want to trade Jakob for the rights to Scoot Henderson while we're at it?
Yeah.
What else
Victor
you got
be nice
in there, Marshall?
Actually, you know what? Forget MPJ.
Yeah.
Just trade Jakob for James Wiseman because he's stay healthy. That guy is David Robinson 2.0.
Could you imagine? I'm going to completely shut down what you said here, but I don't agree.
That's fine.
Could you imagine if they didn't botch that pick and took LaMelo instead?
Or Anthony Edwards? That's what we always talk about.
Yeah, or Anthony Edwards somehow fell back. Like LaMelo went one. Good God.
Here's what I will say with that.
Okay.
Can you just imagine? I hear you with that.
Yes.
If Wiseman plays extremely well this year, moving forward.
Wrong. Yeah.
Because what's one thing, and not to sidetrack, what's one thing the Warriors have not had consistently through all their championship runs? A solid big man. Never had a solid big man. So can you imagine if he hits
Andrew Bogut, the god?
But he was pretty good defensively, but he wasn't able to give you anything offensively. When they won them 30-something games in a row, Festus Ezeli was their center because they were able to run, throw lobs to him, this, that, and the other. You're going to be able to do that with Wiseman, and he can potentially shoot the 3 and might be able to hit it consistent. That's scary. That's scary.
Well, and another thing, too, Steph only has so many years left.
Yeah.
So if you at least have something that you can focus on to at least help have another bridge to that next level, another option, because once Steph leaves, there's only going to be, one Steph Curry, at least for the next 25 years, is generational basketball changing type of player. If you have as many, ducks in a row to give yourself an option to, build around this guy, whether it be Moody, Kuminga, in addition, Poole on top of that. I mean, it's not fair, man.
And that guy
they know that Draymond can't play the center no more. They know that the time period is going away. So
I don't think they're going to extend him.
Nah,
if he's like set on the idea that he's only going to sign a max or nothing, well, I don't think anyone's going to give that to him. But I don't think the Warriors do. And in the event that happens, I don't think
because what is his value? Like they're almost like the perfect counterparts to each other, Steph and Draymond, right? The offensive weapon, versus the defensive weapon, they almost complement themselves so perfully in this perfect system. Like, what is his worth outside of that to anybody else?
So I will say this: if he doesn't re-sign with the Warriors, there's only one place I want to see him end up, and that is the Atlanta Hawks, because I want to see what
I was going to say the same thing.
Because I was going to say, I look at Trae Young as a baby Curry, honestly, except he's a better passer.
I was going to say the same exact thing of teams that you could probably say he would fit on and still be Draymond, so to speak. Atlanta is probably number one, but how he gets there, I'm not sure. That because they don't have any money left to do anything. But in theory, I agree with that. Yeah.
Draymond, aka Donkey from Shrek. Anyway,
that's what they're gonna do with DeJounte, is pretty much put him in that, in the read and react system. Draymond's basically the point guard of the system, and so that's what they're gonna do with Draymond, basically. I mean, with DeJounte, because he can't shoot, so they're gonna put the ball in his hand, let him play make, let everybody else. And we saw in San Antonio, right, when he had like 2 motion shooters like Vassell and McDermott at one time during that brief period, our offense was really clicking.
Yeah.
So it's going to be something similar, I think. Or you could think of it probably if I always thought DeJounte was more closer to Terry Rozier, like the LaMelo Terry Rozier kind of like relationship they have over there in the Hornets land. Okay. So we're going to see we'll see what happens.
Can you imagine because if I'll just say this, if Draymond does go to, if he just, let's see if he does go to Atlanta, right? You got Trae Young and Draymond. Well, like Steph needs his Clay, Trae Young would need his fill in the blank. Buddy Hield, any other good shooter that's in the league.
I mean, you got to remember Klay Thompson is a pretty good defender.
That too.
Elite defender. So that's the missing recipe too. Otherwise, you could just use Bogdanovich.
True, but I would, me personally, I think Buddy Hield gets even hotter than Bogdanovich. He may not be the defender Clay is, and may not be as big, but that guy can shoot. That's all I'm saying. Just to give you a name, Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, sidetracking from that. Yeah, we covered, pretty much everything Spurs news and newsworthy. So I think this is that's it. Greg, do you have anything else?
Hey man, I really appreciate Casey coming on. I mean, he stayed a lot longer than he had to.
Yeah.
I mean, we really appreciate this. I mean, it's being a small channel, anything really helps us. And for you to show us some love and be on here and spend your time with us, you can't imagine how much it means to us. So I really appreciate it.
Man. It's like I said before. Well, one, you got to see what I was doing anyways. So I really had no choice. The fact that they showed up 40 minutes early and it actually ended up working out well. But no, I mean, like I said before, you guys are always showing love to stuff I do. So, whatever capacity you've been. So, to do this, to come back, show you guys love, it was a no-brainer. So appreciate you having me. Thank you.
And it's not going to get you canceled in the show. There's nothing here.
Yeah, that's true.
We definitely appreciate you being on. Everybody go follow Spurs versus Everybody, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Pinterest coming soon.
Yeah, Pinterest. Gotta get the website.
Facebook, all that. Now, Casey, I do have a question for you.
Oh,
now, I know you like basketball, but you also football. I can tell you're a man that likes his football too.
I do.
And maybe you like some baseball and some soccer.
I don't watch soccer.
Okay. Well, anyway, outside of that.
You're going, Marshall. You're going. You're cooking.
Yeah, I was cooking.
Don't watch hockey. Don't watch hockey.
Fair. Well, basketball, baseball, football, all the sports we cover on Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. We're bringing that back for all of you who enjoyed watching it. Maybe we can get Casey on there to talk about. I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan now. Or he said no. Giants fan.
Raiders fan.
Raiders fan. They're actually my preseason Super Bowl pick. Super Bowl. One of my two.
Adams, Waller.
I mean, honestly, man, I have been the biggest Derek Carr advocate forever now. Mm-hmm. If he can't do it this year,
oh no!
I'm like Carr bandwagon. I know. I'm like, oh no, I'm not off the I'm off the Carr bandwagon. I'm off the Raider bandwagon. Yeah. But I'm like, if you can't take this team and at least win one playoff game this year, I don't know what to tell you. Derek, man. It's just.
To be fair, he got injured, and then also last year, they went through everything under the sun: racism, sexism. They went through a lot of stuff.
And he still took him to the playoffs. And that's why I'm an advocate, because, listen, you don't have to go out there and put up these Peyton Manning numbers if you're not going to win the game. I mean, the dude was clutch. The dude made plays when you needed to. And that Bengals game, when they got the stop. When they got the ball back, I would have bet my house that he was going to – well, not really. But I would have put a sizable bet that he was going to take that ball. They were going to go down. They were going to score. They were going to go to overtime and then probably lose the game in overtime. But, I was all in, and then I got 80% of the way there, and then it just didn't work out when they got inside the red zone. But, yeah.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I believe in Derek Carr too, so much that if he were playing for the Tennessee Titans, they'd be the Super Bowl champion this year. I'm just saying.
Marshall is disgusted that Derrick Henry's going to go down without that ship.
You're a Titans fan?
No, I'm a Cowboys
He's
fan,
Derrick.
but I think Derrick Henry is the best running
His
back.
holy trinity is Bobo, Wiseman, Derrick Henry. You mentioned those names, there's a smile that will come on his face.
I mean, just a quick thing. Derrick Henry, all right, even though he got injured, you had Foreman. Foreman was, I remember how great he was with Houston. He came back and was balling. And then freaking Tannehill tried to, why that? Anyway, I'm not going to do it. Tannehill's not, yeah. We're going to leave it there, y'all, because we're running over time. Thank y'all for being on Spurs versus everybody. Casey, again, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Marco. San Antonio Spurs fans, stand up. And we will catch y'all next time.
Peace.